Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Duval Dive, bringing you live and in effect. Look at that. It's Travis D. Holmes on the field, in the field, near the field, by the field. He could probably hear the lawnmower still at Miller Electric. Travis D. Holmes, man, good to have you in. Good. I hope everybody's surprised about what you're doing here in day two. What were you surprised about and what you saw here in day two at Jacksonville Jaguars Training Camp?
Hey, man, today was a fight. And I know I feel bad for a few of the people who were in attendance earlier on. There was a little bit of lightning in the area, so they end up having to take the early portions of practice inside for the first 8 periods, basically. But those who were willing to stay for that first 45-ish minutes and get through that cycle, yeah, they end up getting the show towards the end, and we'll get into it. But yeah, it was a fight for both sides of the ball. Early on offense, and in the middle periods, a lot of great defensive plays that we'll get into. And then towards the end, it was kind of a rock and sock and robot. Yeah, everybody kind of getting their punches in the time.
Rock and sock'em robot moment. Hey, listen, my kid has one of those. I know what that is. And hey, listen, Chris Saunders in the chat, longtime listener, first time chatter. You picked a big one there. As Travis G. Holmes is there, is representing in person in the field there live. And I know. I hate that this question gets asked, but I got to do it. It's required by law when you're talking training camp. Yesterday, everywhere you look, whether it was even us last night on the Duval Dive, whether it was, friends of the show over there at Locked On, or anywhere else just out there in the Duval sphere, the defense clearly won. Did that happen again today?
No, man. No. Again, there was a good few, let's say 3 periods where the defense objectively were dominant, just dominant. And then there were the early periods where the offense was just making a lot of fabulous plays. I'm talking Josh Cameron had one of the most impressive catches that I've seen so far. On a diving catch that it was close. It was close. I wasn't even 100% sure it was caught, but the ref said he caught it, so he caught it, dang it. And that's kind of how this works. Great throw from Nick Mullins. Again, I know he gets a lot of shade because he's not Trevor Lawrence, but it was a good throw, and it was a great catch by Cameron. Speaking of Josh Cameron, he also had a really competitive day overall. He ended up having 2 contested catch scenarios and another 3 that were good plays on the defense. Travis Hunter ended up forcing an incompletion on an outbreaking route that the ref called incomplete. Jamal St. Cyr, friend of the pod, he ended up saying that he thought it was a completion. Me, the defensive back guy, I thought Travis Hunter used the sideline well and got the force out. However you want to call it, ref said incomplete. I'm going with the ref this time because I'm biased.
Well, here's the thing. Both things can be true, right? Travis Hunter could successfully use the sideline, but Josh Cameron could still make a play. And listen, I of course followed you amongst all the people there in the Duval sphere here at Duval Dive Central here. And Travis, by the way, Travis D. Holmes on Twitter. I saw Cameron's name coming up all over the place, making a case for himself as a UDFA.
What? Well, yeah. Well, UDFA, I think he was actually a 6th rounder.
Is he? Okay, I have that.
Yeah. Yeah. Josh, CJ Williams was the later one, but out of the 2 of them. But either way, late round draft pick on UDFA. I understand the link there. He had a competitive day, and even Travis Hunter, with his competitive day, he ended up having that, forced incompletion again, arguable, forced incompletion. And then you had, he had the 15-yard, an outbreaking route right after BCJ had a very similar route early, in the late periods. Again, for the guys who stayed through the rain and everything else, they ended up getting some really nice play by BCJ and by Travis Hunter in that final period. BTJ, he had a quiet day early on, and then all of a sudden, after he got his first catch that was a 15 to 20-yarder, he ended up getting another 30-yarder, then another 25-yarder that probably would have gone for a touchdown just for a live game. So all of a sudden he was quiet, boom. All right, I guess the guy might have had 100 yards at this point. It was a very interesting kind of time, as Brandon, when he came onto the pod, said, if you want a fantasy football kind of conversation, he's that explosive element within the offense where all of a sudden he can be quiet for the first 3 quarters, and then all of a sudden you look up and dang, that was a 100-yard day? What the hell? 3 catches? Crazy. But that's kind of what it felt like today. Again, the defense got their punches, but when the offense did get those punches, they were generally
Yeah, and definitely appreciate you guys out there helping us out here. There is a bit of static, but Travis is there in the field, so bear with it. We're still making out what you could say. There's just a little bit of static there coming through on the audio. But listen, you mentioned Brandon Howard coming on. This is the kind of day the offense needed to have if they're stepping up from what they had yesterday. And at day's end, I feel like last year there was a back and forth about which unit was winning. We're having that again. I think that's a good sign. And let me throw this out there too. The other question I have, I don't think that's getting talked enough about, is Eric Armstead made a statement yesterday putting Pregnon on skates. We talked about last night on the Duval Dive. Would you make the argument, you've been there for the past 2-3 camps, that he's been present? Is this the healthiest we've seen Eric Armstead in a camp yet?
I don't think it's a good question if this is the healthiest. I'm sure if you were to ask him, he would tell you this is the healthiest he's been.
He would tell you it's the healthiest. Okay.
You have the 2024 camp where he ended up having off-season surgery. Then you have the 2025 camp, and again, he wasn't fully healthy at that time. So this is the one where you have no specific issue as far as his health or his injury status or anything along those lines. From that perspective, yes, I think this is it. So the hope now is, fingers crossed, that he can continue to stay healthy all throughout the offseason and all throughout the season. Maybe we'll get a full 17 games at this time.
And listen, it's funny. It's day 2. You gotta love. People keep talking about same old Jaguars, and I know that Tony Pacelli made comments about how that was a silly statement at the time when they were doing it. That's out there in the Twitter sphere. But what a difference a year or two can make, because you never saw these sort of comments. Chris Saunders in the comments, is it just me, or is this the first time going into a season thinking this team is a legit Super Bowl contender? And we said it last night, Travis, with the AFC being, based on what it was last year, the weaker conference, air quotes, these are the first steps you want to see. Granted, let's be clear about this, and I'm going to play the clip. Bear with me real quick, Travis. It sounds like I got to remind some people of something.
I mean, listen, we talking about practice. Not a game. We talking about practice. Listen.
The excitement. There's a lot to be excited about. I'm particularly excited about the beef, such that it is. I'll submit, Travis, this might be the most excited I've been about both trenches simultaneously performing here on the Duval Dive, right? Because the effort to rebuild and Eric Armstead's health. Go ahead.
Now, we had a few conversations. I had a few conversations with a few members of the media, and we all kind of came to one general consensus without talking to each other. Dang, CBL is good. Holmes is on the active PUP, but the fact that they put him on the active PUP and not the reserve PUP lets you know, lets you know that the team believes that he's going to be ready to play at some point in training camp. And looking at him on the sideline, like with no speculation even involved, just saying what your eyes see, and anyone who saw him working out, so they can say the same thing. Hey, no, he looks like he's 100%. Like, he looks like he's fine. Like, he's going to be ready to play if they chose to have him be. Maybe they're just playing him, whatever that may be, but he looks good, and that's probably should be a good thing for the Jacksonville Jaguars fan base, especially after seeing the reactions to walk a little, falling on the ground on one snap yesterday, because of course fans they don't like walk a little because reasons. Mostly Trey Hendrickson, let's be honest. But also the team did announce that Jack Kaiser and Coach Coen said he was going to have an MRI last night. They stated after his MRI that he will be back sometime in training camp, so it would seem to be a more minor injury as far as that's concerned.
And we're grateful for that. Yeah, we're grateful for that for Jack's sake, if nothing else. And I suppose I would have asked you about emergency plans, but it doesn't sound like there'll be too much of an emergency there at linebacker. And that's a thin group. So, young guys might have to step up quick if something had gone really wrong. But for the moment, we'll see what happens. Preseason's coming. We'll see how they do all that. What do you got? You look like you're thinking of something.
No, you spoke about the young guys, and we talked about Parker Hughes last night because that came up in the conversation in the chat. And he nearly had an interception today. It went right through his hands and actually tipped and resulted in the catch. And I was like, Parker Hughes gets that interception. That's going to be the conversation of camp, obviously, because he's 7th-round linebacker, of course, small school prospect, of course. But he was just that far off. But Ventrell Miller ended up having a pick six today off of Nick Mullins' pass. And Branson Holmes was great in coverage on two different throws. One to Parker Washington where it was contested catch. I thought they intercepted it, but it was like simultaneous possession kind of situation. I was like, all right, so Branson Holmes got a little bit of that in him. And Ventrell with a pick six. I think folks might be saying Devin moves pretty soon, bro. This might be interesting.
Yeah, listen, we're not asking for Ventrell Miller to do Devin Lloyd things from last year, but that is certainly a thing that makes us feel better about the fact that he'll at least be enough to be a solid replacement. Storm the Desert in the comments. Parker Hughes' film and athletic ability hold up. It's a matter of if it holds up against better competition. Yeah, I think you might have even said that. You or somebody in the chat among the divers said that for sure. And then John Keebler in the comments. Jalen McLeod, Combs, we're good. And listen, I said it last night. If the linebacker situation gets hairy, we have Combs. I'm sticking with that pun. I'm sorry. That's a good dad joke. Okay.
That's solid. That's solid. But no,
people seeing you work hard. Is Travis losing weight or is training camp getting him dropping pounds? They see you putting in the work.
I just wear bigger pants today. That's all. I just wear smaller. They ain't not much stripes. I got nothing for you, bro. But no, the biggest part for today for me was the Trevor Lawrence Parker Washington connection, and it's going to come out on the socials. It's absolutely going to come out on the socials. You'll see it with that weak, I would call it back shoulder kind of mossing of Montaric Brown on that sideline play. It's hard to call it a moss.
Wait a minute. Is this what we're
It's hard to call them. It's hard not to call it a moss, but it was a really dang good. Take the ball from without saying what the route was and everything else. I hope the Jaguars put it on social and then you'll be able to see it. But like it was a nice sideline go for Trevor Lawrence. When you beat the cover to the spot.
Yeah, your audio. Oh, you're back. Okay, go ahead.
They had a good conversation.
Yeah, no, and listen.
No, I was just like, Parker Washington.
Yeah. Shoot, Parker out there somewhere, and that's why he's the player of the day, for sure. And let me get into the last point here before we let you go, because I know you got stuff you got to do for Big Cat Country, and all that jazz. But Storm of the Desert in the comments. What if one of these day 3 edge guys break out, fill an immediate hole, and not have to fall off the cliff in talent? If Pressure's man or Trayvon go down, listen. Pressure's man, of course, referring to JHA. I see what you're doing. No, we don't have the T-shirt yet, Storm. But yeah, obviously, you get any of these guys to break out from the edge, that's going to be a big deal and give the pass rush that fans and coaching staff alike have been calling for.
Right. And Zach Derby did have a sack or a would-be sack today. So if you want to say there are the flashes that says maybe you might have something. There is one from your prospect decks. So yeah, maybe you might get something from those day 3 guys. We'll see.
That's what you're looking for in practices like this. And listen, I already pulled the AI to do the calculation. I'm going to go ahead and let the people know where you could be found on your behalf so they can hear it. Oh, wait, you got one more thing?
No, I didn't get into the defense guys. Jordan Lewis, 2 PBUs. Darian Jones, who I talked to after practice, also two PBUs. Both of them had really solid days. We already talked about Brandon Holmes and Zach Murphy as far as that's concerned. And that offensive line and safety room competitions are going to be fascinating to watch. The safety room, Ray Lane had an interception that was called back. I still thought the play he made was great. And the Wyatt Milam and both Wyatt Milam and He-Man and Andy I'm both working at left guard is on. That's interesting after watching him only play on the right side earlier in camp. That might end up being a real competition, but we'll see.
Yeah, and I think that's something we've forgotten about with the propping up of Pregnon. I think he's going to make noise. It may just not be this year. O-linemen develop slower than they used to ever since there's been less hitting in practice. That's just a whole thing. I don't think that's a shock. And listen, I've heard a lot in different places that Wyatt Milam's starting to emerge to make himself the de facto favorite currently on the right side. Patrick McCarry still regularly dealing with knee stuff. That's unfortunate. But yeah, And well, did you happen to notice if Mylan's taken any snaps at tackle? I haven't heard about that. No, the answer is no. Okay. So with that in mind, yeah, man, we'll go ahead and let you go here. Get your stuff done with Big Cat Country. The world can find you at Travis D. Holmes on all the socials. Tickle the like button, throw a chair at it, do what you do, follow, become a member, do all the things. And listen, I can tell you later, you may not have made it to the library yet, but when you do, make sure you support your local media. Have your local librarian read Travis's latest Big Cat Country article if you can't read, okay? Simply put. Of course, you can find me at the Student of the Game on all the socials, Instagram, Threads, Twitter, and all of the above there, as well as on Facebook at the Student of the Game. Check out my stuff covering UCF as well, Locked On UCF, and you'll be hearing about me from more places here soon. Let me tease that. The announcement's coming there. And, of course, my work covering the Orlando Storm on the Storm Surge podcast. A lot of UFL news breaking, a lot of Storm players getting tryouts at camp and stuff like that, and the future of the Birmingham Stallions in play, as well as my work covering the Orlando Magic with 1010XL.com, Orlando Magic Central. So for my personal champion, Travis D. Holmes at Miller Electric, for all you Duval divers that were in the building to help us have a conversation, we'll get you back to the rest of your days. You guys are working hard just like Travis is there in the field. But yeah, until next time, everyone, class dismissed.